Hey guys, welcome to another video. Last week I asked you to send in some of your K-pop opinions in a form and today we'll be reading and reacting to them. Now I got quite a few, and some were pretty long, so I sadly can't really out all them in this video. I promise I read every one of the submissions, but if yours didn't make it in and you still want to share, go ahead and comment down below. Anyways, remember that just as these submissions are your opinions, my responses are my own. Mai deserved her spot in IZNA. In the finale, she gave us her best performance we've seen from her yet, and she was able to adapt to a new vocal tone that fixes her nasality. I didn't like how Fukanators fought tooth and nail to drag Mai and call her as a dozen when Fuko was the worst performer at the finale. She made a mistake when dancing, particularly in the second chorus, and her vocals were inconsistent as well. Overall, Mai is not a dozen and she will forever be that bitch. Don't play with my sister. I agree. I definitely think Mai was deserving of her spot. She definitely isn't as talented and not as helpless as many try to make her seem. I will say, however, while I definitely am not excusing the actions of some Fuko stans, I noticed that a majority of the people attacking Mai and saying that Fuko deserved the spot were often people who weren't Fuko stans and had never voted for her. That's what frustrated me, personally, the most. So many people were crying, complaining and attacking the members on the behalf of Fuko when they had never once clicked Fuko's name on the voting ballot. I myself am a Fuko alt for iland, and I still hold the belief, even to fans of Fuko, that we have no right to be upset at any of the girls that did make it in because it is our own fault as a fandom for not voting properly for Fuko. In conclusion, I almost fully agree with your opinions, but I do think that a lot of those not all people weren't Fuko fans in the first place and just used her as a shield to hate. I have a strong feeling that Road to Kingdom 2 is gonna flop just like Queendom 2, and I'm surprised that mnet even decided to continue the Queendom series after the mess that was Queendom Puzzle, since they've learned that it isn't as profitable as it used to be. I completely agree. I've been saying this. However, I wouldn't be too surprised if Kingdom is a but more successful due to how interactive and involved boy group fandoms are with voting, etc. And it really does suck because it's such a good concept on paper, but the last 2 seasons have just not been it. Also, the winners that have been genuinely successful after the show had already been decently known and successful during their participation. Like, there really isn't much of a benefit to winning. Yes, sales go up, but recently it just hasn't been enough to really garner incentive to make another. Of course, there is some benefits, like I do think there are some gems that come out of the Queendom and Kingdom series, some who aren't even the winners of the season, for example G-Idol and itzy. However, let's be honest, the reason those two, as well as the winners of the first 2 seasons and a couple of others, are so incredibly successful is not directly because of the survival show. I wouldn't be surprised if most people had no idea they even participated in the show. Again, we don't know how this new season will do. Maybe there really is a huge shift after it, but I wouldn't be shocked if it's not successful. I never understood why people compare Korean entertainment companies, because if we're being honest, about 95% are a mix of shitty, manipulative, lazy, and money-hungry. I completely agree, especially towards company stans. And I'm not talking about people who tend to stan or like groups from one company. For example, I really like the music that HYBE and SM gives their groups. I adore the artistry and concepts given to their groups as well, especially SM's older groups. Therefore, I tend to stan a majority of the groups under the label and look forward to their upcoming projects and debuts. But if someone were to insult SM or HYBE for whatever reason, there is no way on God's green earth that I am going to step up and defend them. They're not paying me to fight someone on Twitter, and frankly I probably agree with the people throwing shade. Like, I find it so absurd how people will defend, fight tooth and nail, give up their firstborn child for a company. All because someone said the CEO and their practices are evil, which is true. The craziest example of this that I can think of is HYBE Stan's reaction to Minji having fun with the supernova stickers aespa gave them. With the way they reacted, you would have thought Minji smashed every window of the building, unplugged every computer after deleting every file off of it, and that Bang PD himself was the second coming of Christ who had constructed the HYBE building with nothing but his hands and clay. It was insane, and like the op mentioned, not a single company is morally good, especially the big 3. Are some better than others? Maybe, but they're still companies at the end of the day, and you dick riding one that lets their idols sleep 3 hours and a half instead of the typical 3 hours is not gonna get you anything. Like, please get off. No matter how many years pass, I will never forgive FNC for what they did to Cherry Bullet. They had so much potential and talent that was just thrown away. I hope they go bankrupt. I completely agree. I think what makes it more upsetting is also just how many times these girls have been sent to survival shows. Like, oh my god, if I were them I wouldn't last another day. They had great music, they were super talented, Honestly, I wondered if maybe their sales had gone down, but their recent comeback was their best-selling ever, and 2023 was their best-selling year ever, and they only came back once. I wonder if it may be a decision driven by the members or if the company really just decided to give up for no apparent reason. FX's Pinocchio is a better album than Pink Tape. Not gonna lie, I agree. I adore the Pink Tape concept-wise. Yes, it's a basic choice for that reason, but I'll give Min Heejin her flowers this single time because the Pink Tape conceptually was a fucking masterpiece. It has Shadow, which is my favorite K-pop song and maybe my favorite song of all time, but it also has some skips in the lineup. Pinocchio, on the other hand, has no skips. I personally don't see the hype and appeal in SKZ's music overrated ass. I kinda disagree. I'm not really a fan of their music or their musical style, but I see why some other may really like it. Their music is very hype, very energetic. While I don't like some of their production choices, any Stray Kids song that plays I instantly get the feeling of getting up and moving, doing something active. It's very engaging, if that makes sense. I also think some of their music you have to watch a performance in order to fully enjoy it. I always use this example, but I don't love Unforgiven by SSERAFIM as a song. But whenever I watch their stages and performances, this song gets a million times better and is so enjoyable. In other words, while I personally don't love every release by Stray Kids, I can see the appeal it has on some. I do not care that it was just a small scooter that Suga was driving. Drinking and driving is very inappropriate and sets a bad precedent. People are so hypocritical for defending him, but hating on others who do the same just because he's people's favs. I definitely agree that he deserves any of the legal consequences he will receive. However, I feel like a lot of stans are using this as fan war ammunition rather than actually acknowledging the potential damage and hurt Suga could have caused or gone through himself. I think both sides have reacted so wrongly in this situation. Fans are completely downplaying the situation. It doesn't matter if he was going slowly, if he has a high tolerance or was or wasn't in danger. He still could have gotten severely hurt or hurt someone, and he is also setting an example to many. But I also think it's extremely inappropriate to use this situation as a gotcha moment. Let Suga face the consequences, which he is and has, call out the true mistakes and let it be. All I can say to Sakura is womp womp. I wouldn't be so heartless if you weren't that dumb girly. No one begged for you to join ignoring her Japan phase PD for 8. No one begged for you to join a big-ass company like Hype. No one begged for you to be an idol ... at all. The best comparison is with GP999 trainees. It's been 3 years, I think. Look at them now. More than half of them, plus 45 people, improve so much on every aspect. Especially vocals. Even the dozen ones are no more dozens. They did what you couldn't do in 10 fucking years. I'm so scared. I can't do anything. I need this documentary for some empathy. Oh. Yeah, no, this is just weird. I want you to genuinely think why Sakura has not improved in the 10 years she's been in the industry. If you say it's because she is simply untalented, you're wrong. You can always teach any technique and talent, especially early on. The answer is because there simply was no necessity for her to improve. There was no push. And while new skills are easy to teach, skills on a blank canvas, all these years of not getting professionally trained has made her learn some bad habits, and those are really hard to unlearn. Also, the documentary wasn't made by Sakura. It wasn't posted by Sakura. You saying you have no empathy and blaming her for it is so icky. I'd understand to some extent if she said, "Fool all of you guys. I don't give a fuck about what you say," but even then the documentary was filmed a year ago. I do agree that now it is on her and especially the company for her improvement. Remember that part of her struggle may be even because the company refuses to give the girls songs in their range. And I do agree, at some point it really does boil down to it's your job and your responsibility. Personality alone isn't going to cut it anymore. So while I agree with some points, so think it could have been worded better. Before we finish up, let's do a lightning round where my responses will be an image or one sentence. Demon of IZNA is so overrated. Honestly, she is carried by her previous survival show. She shouldn't have made it into IZNA. She was pretty mediocre in comparison to the other girls. I have a crush on Sticky or Julie. Someone has said it before, but I believe that Sullen should not have debuted in triples. She is still learning Korean and doesn't communicate a lot with the members, and she kinda seems awkward due to the language barrier. I don't think she was ready to debut. One of Triple S's concepts is growing with the idol of all possibilities because they still have the ability to learn anything they want. But I feel like many, even me, forget that partially because of Mod House. K-pop stans must have forgotten what a girl means because no one in the 5th gen is a girl. I find it incredibly weird how anti-black some pop stans are, considering that pop is legitimately built off of black culture. It doesn't help that anytime it's brought up, they get super defensive about it. Completely agree, especially when it comes to the recent Y2K revival. People want to credit anyone except the real creators of the genre and culture. While I myself am not black, it is so important to remember who created, inspired and pioneered the hobbies and music and culture we enjoy. That's going to be it for today. There were so many more submissions I really wanted to include, but I sadly don't have enough time. Please, if yours didn't make it in, but you still want to share, comment down below. I want to reply to as many of you as possible. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye.
Luna, save us.